Also in Washington, it's the morning after President Trump delivered the longest State of the Union address ever last night. It consisted of familiar material, much of it a mainstay of his speeches since taking office in his second term. Only this time, he has some of the lowest approval numbers of his political career, with once advantageous issues like the economy and immigration suddenly looking like vulnerabilities. But that didn't stop President Trump from offering his standard mix of fuzzy math and furious attacks on Democrats, painting a picture of a nation entering a, quote, golden age, and sparring with Democrats who he blames for any hurdles on the way to that peak.
Our country is winning again. In fact, we're winning so much that we really don't know what to do about it. You should be ashamed of yourself not standing up. You should be ashamed of yourself. These people are crazy. I'm telling you, they're crazy.
Let's break down the speech with MS Now White House reporter Laura Barone-Lopez, our reporter Maya Eglin, who is talking with voters in battleground Pennsylvania, and MS Now columnist Philip Bump. Laura, the president delivered many of the same messages he's been hammering for the past year. But notably, he didn't really tweak any of the rosy claims about the economy, despite the growing public distrust on this issue.
That's right, Anna. The president presented a very different picture of the economy than the one that many Americans are facing. Just take a listen to how he tried to break down and spin his economic numbers.
In 12 months, my administration has driven core inflation down to the lowest level in more than 5 years. And in the last 3 months of 2025, it was down to 1.7%. The price of eggs is down 60%. Even beef, which was very high, is starting to come down significantly. Just hold on a little while. We're getting it down. When they see energy going down to numbers like that, they cannot believe it. It's like another big tax cut.
So, Anna, I want to fact check a bit of what the president said there. First, on his claim that core inflation the last 3 months of 2025 was down to 1.7%. That was his claim. But what are the facts? The facts are that in November of 2025 and December of 2025, core inflation was at 2.6%, and in January it was at 2.5%. That's according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Now, also on his other claims about grocery prices and egg prices, food inflation is at 2.9%, up from 2.5% a year ago. Grocery inflation is at 2.1%, up from 1.9% a year ago. On his claim that egg prices are down to 60%, well, actually, they're down 48% from a year ago. And on his claim about beef starting to come down, beef prices are up nearly 22%, rising since August, and on electricity, it's up 6.3%. So those are the facts, and it just goes to show that the president is trying to sell this economy that he and his White House say is what Americans are experiencing right now. But when you talk to voters, when you talk to other people across the country, that is not what they're feeling, Anna.
That's right. And Laura, we appreciate that reality check. The other fact of the matter is that a lot of Americans are suffering, and they are seeing their grocery prices become a huge burden. Philip, more than a year in, President Trump's blaming those economic woes and other problems on Democrats. Watch.
The same people in this chamber who voted for those disasters suddenly used the word affordability, a word they just used it. Somebody gave it to them, knowing full well that they caused and created the increased prices that all of our citizens had to endure. You caused that problem. Their policies created the high prices. Our policies are rapidly ending them. Democrats are destroying our country, but we've stopped it just in the nick of time.
Philip, is that the message his party needs in this moment?
Well, it sort of depends on what he's trying to do, right? I mean, I think that it's pretty clear that Donald Trump came into last night with an eye on the midterm elections, with trying to do what he could to at least bolster his support among Republicans, which has started to soften. And we've seen that in a lot of polling. The challenge with that message, of course, is that Donald Trump himself was talking about affordability a lot during the course of the 2024 campaign. And he and his party benefited from Joe Biden doing exactly what Trump is now trying to do, right? Joe Biden said, look, actually, the economy is good. Yes, prices are up. backdrop, but everything is doing well. And people respond to that by saying, no, prices are high, inflation is bad, and they voted very heavily for Donald Trump primarily because of the economy. So now Trump's trying to do the same thing. He's trying to say it's not a big deal, don't worry about it, things are getting better, and it's the Democrats' fault. But no one's buying that message. People go to the store and they see what the prices are. They see that inflation is still real, and that's not something you can surmount by giving one speech in which you blame the Democrats for it. Particularly because Donald Trump's mantra has always been, I'm going to get this done day one. It's no problem. It's the Democrats are messing everything up. And now he's been president for more than a year and things haven't changed. And it's a really tough sell at a really tough time for him.
Maya, how did voters in Pennsylvania take to the speech?
Yeah, in a mixed way. We're here at Trivet Diner in Allentown, Pennsylvania. It's actually in Lehigh County. And this diner is a good representation of the swing state because I've been speaking to veterans who say that they really did enjoy the president's emphasis on the military last night. I spoke to other voters who thought the speech was a bit too long and lacked substance a little bit. Let's take a look at some of the 2024 numbers to kind of remind everyone how we got here. In 2024, Pennsylvania voted for President Trump just over 50%. But I spoke to one voter who thinks that last night's speech could potentially change these numbers again. Lehigh County is one of 4 counties that House Democrats are hoping to flip. Take a listen to my conversation with a local voter named Wendy.
What great leader in the entire world would put down their own people? Bullying, the punishment because they dare to vote against something he wanted. That is our right. I think the people are tired of his tyranny, of how he treats anybody who dares to disagree with him. And I think on these next elections, you will see more Democrats winning the races.
To tell you, Anna, there have been a lot of folks here, too, who don't really want to talk about politics publicly. And I think that also kind of plays into how much of a swing state, how close this community is, and how much they don't want to ruffle feathers a little bit too much. Anna?
It's such a polarized environment right now. Philip, President Trump is about as unpopular as he has ever been in his political career. He is seriously underwater on key issues like immigration, the economy, the Epstein files. And the view doesn't get much better when you zoom out. CNN and the Washington Post polls have Trump's overall approval at less than 30%, you can see, or less than 40%, 63% and 60% disapproval about where he was just after the Capitol attack. A new Marist poll shows 6 out of 10 Americans think the country is worse off than a year ago. In the face of that political reality, he doubles down on everything that got him to this point, and he delivers the longest State of the Union in American history, about an hour and 48 minutes. Does that suggest just a disconnect, or how do you make sense of it?
Well, I think it's important to remember that the people that Donald Trump is most worried about are his base. And that's for a couple of reasons. First of all, because he feels as though those are the people that are loyal to him, so he's going to respond in kind. Second of all, because he needs Republicans to put pressure on Republican legislators. He needs Republican legislators in Congress to feel as though they cannot go against him or they will pay a political cost or even a literal physical cost in some cases. And he's been very good over the course of his 2 terms as president in getting Republicans to feel like they can't do something against him or they are going to themselves suffer. And so I think last night's speech should be viewed not as a State of the Union address, which it wasn't. It wasn't him going to Congress and being like, here's what I want to do with you. It was him doing a reality show and bringing out special guests and surprise appearances, all the sort of gimmicks he learned in the TV business, but with the aim of getting Republican voters to once again be like, yeah, that's right, that's our guy, we're fighting the libs, we hate the Dems, yada, yada, yada. In hopes that when they come to vote in their primaries, they're backing candidates who are loyal to Trump, and that moving forward into what is likely to be a Democratic-led House next year, that they're not going to get Republicans who are going sideways on votes against the president. That, I think, was his focus, and it should be understood in that way. So the popularity, yes, his popularity is very low, but among Republicans it remains solid. It's a little softer than it used to be, and that's where his emphasis has long been.